Hey everyone, and welcome to Miss Estruch Teach and Tell. And in this video, I'm going to be going through the required practical 6, the aseptic technique to create an inhibition zone for A-level biology. I have got these videos for all of the required practicals. So if you aren't already subscribed, click the subscribe button now so you don't miss out on any of these. Plus, for all of the practicals, you can download for free the entire guide for each practical, which includes the aim, the method, equipment, risk assessment, key mistakes, and key tips to explain to your students as well. And a big thank you to Woodford County High School for having me here today to film the practicals. So in this experiment, we are going to be testing a range of different antibiotics with E. coli to work out which antibiotic is the most effective at killing this strain of E. coli. And within that, the students are being assessed on their aseptic technique as well. In this experiment, we're going to need a Bunsen burner to help keep our aseptic conditions. You're going to need matches to light the Bunsen burner. The antibiotics that you're going to be using to test with. I've got sterile spreaders here, pre-sterilized. I've then got my E. coli bacteria, which we can see here, the strain K12, which is a safe strain to use in schools. I also have a sterile syringe to use to transfer the bacteria onto my plates. I've got my pre-sterilized forceps to move the antibiotic disc onto the plates. Permanent marker to label the Petri dishes, tape to tape down the lid of the Petri dishes. I've got pre-poured agar plates, which are all sterile. So we've got sterile agar plates pre-made. And then I have my Virkon disinfectant, which I'm going to be using for the equipment after it's touched the bacteria. And I'll also use this to sterilize the table at the start and the end. And then finally, I've got some cotton wool to use to dip into my disinfectant to clean down the surface at the start and the end. So step 1, I need to wash my hands with soap to make sure that I'm removing any microbes on my hands so it doesn't contaminate our plates. Next, I'm going to dip my cotton wool in the Virkon and just sterilize the section of the workbench that I'm going to be working on. It's now at this point that I would put the Bunsen burner on. I don't actually need it on the roaring flame yet, so for safety reasons, I'm going to leave it on the yellow flame so we can see it, but just have it on ready so that I'm minimizing the amount of things that I'm touching after I've already washed my hands. So one of the key things students need to know are the aseptic techniques, and that's the common thing that comes up in the exam. So what they need to know is, first of all, they must wash their hands with soap, or you could also say, wash the surface with disinfectant at the start and the end. And that goes for the washing your hands with soap. The mark scheme is really particular. You have to say with disinfectant, you have to say with soap. The reason for those are you need the soap or the disinfectant to actually kill and remove other microbes that could contaminate your plate. And in terms of at the end, it's to kill the bacteria you've been growing so you don't then spread it across the school. The other things linked to the aseptic technique, we briefly spoke about when we went through the equipment, but any piece of equipment that's going to be used has to be sterile, meaning completely clean with no other microbes on. So we've got pre-sterilized forceps. These were sterilized in an autoclave, so students need to know that. They could be asked how you could sterilize other equipment. You could either sterilize it in steam, an autoclave, or in the Bunsen burner. But if you do have something that is plastic, then that can't go in the Bunsen burner because it would melt. One of the other key things for the aseptic technique is before you use your E. coli, you would need to flame the neck of the bottle through your Bunsen burner in the roaring flame so it's hot enough to kill any microbes that might have been on the top. When the students are working, they also need to make sure they're working near the Bunsen burner because this is so hot, you're going to get a convection current drawing the air up into the flame, and then as the air cools, it sinks again. So you constantly have this circulation of sterilized air around where you're working. When working with the agar plate, we need to make sure that we're only ever opening this very, very slightly at an angle so that we can get into work, but we're reducing the amount of air that could potentially land on the dish that might contain microbes on it. And then at the end, we're going to see that any piece of equipment I have used is going to go into the Virkon so it disinfects the equipment to kill any microbes that might be on that. So the key risk assessment for the students is mainly what we've gone through with the aseptic technique. So washing your hands with soap, disinfecting the surfaces, because that is now going to be protecting you and other students from transferring any microbes out of the classroom. So they must make sure they wash their hands with soap at the end. Because we're working with a Bunsen burner, we have to be very aware that anyone with longer hair, the hair's tied up and you don't have any loose things that could, as you lean over, dangle into the flame. Also wearing goggles just to protect my eyes, just in case we get any splashes of E. coli. And then the big one, we are using a safe strain of E. coli. It's non-pathogenic, but also if a student does spill any E. coli, they must make a teacher aware immediately, because we'll need to soak that area with disinfectant and the teacher will need to clean it up safely. When we come to incubate our plates, we need to make sure we put tape only on the two sides so that air can get in, so we have oxygen, aerobic conditions, so we don't accidentally grow any harmful anaerobic strains. And also the plates must be incubated at 25 degrees C, so it's warm enough for bacterial growth, but not so warm that we encourage excessive growth and potentially get large population sizes of pathogenic bacteria. But now let's get into the actual practical, and as we go through, I'll point out some key mistakes students make so that you can point it out to them so they don't, and some key tips as well. So I've washed my hands with soap, I've disinfected the surface, I've got my roaring Bunsen burner flame set up. I've actually got some labels already on my Petri dishes because these were pre-made by the technician. So at the moment, it's just saying it contains only nutrient agar, and that was created on this date. Because I'm now going to be adding in something else, you have to add in what is going into the plate, and we do it around the edge so it's not going to block our results at the end. I'm going to put my initials as well, so the students should put their initials because in the class they need to be able to identify which are theirs. And I'm adding E. coli. So that is now my new label that I'm adding to the bottom, at the corner, at the bottom. So if the lid does fall off, we still know what is on the actual agar, and right at the edges so it's not blocking your plate and your results at the end. So now I'm ready to flip it over. So I'm now ready to get my bacteria from my bottle into my plate, and I'm then going to spread it evenly across the bottom. So the key things to be aware of here is we've got our sterile syringe, sterile spreader. One common thing that students often do wrong at this stage is they open up all of the equipment, put it on the table, and then they leave it. That gives opportunity for microbes to land on it and it to become contaminated again. So we do not open our items until we are literally ready to use them to reduce the likelihood of contamination. Another key mistake that we'll see, and I'll point this out as I go through it, is when using the spreader, sometimes students don't actually spread all the way across their plate to the edges. So you then don't get the complete bacterial lawn covering the whole dish, and that can impact the ability of you being able to see the inhibition zones. So let's have a look at this. First of all then, I would flame the neck. Now I'm going to open up and get my syringe out, and we actually use 0.7 mil when we do this. We found that that's enough to get good results, that we can actually see the growth and not so much that it's really wet and splashes around on the plate. I then put the lid on straight away so I can't accidentally knock over the bacteria. Working near the Bunsen burner so we've got that convection current. Then I'm just going to open it, only slightly at an angle, put that bacteria onto the plate. I'm going to close it now, and before I spread it, put the syringe into the Virkon, but get your students actually pull the syringe up so it draws the Virkon inside, so it's disinfecting the inside and the outside of your syringe. Next, I need to open these spreaders. We can see it was a sealed sterile pack, so as soon as this is opened, they're no longer going to remain definitely sterile. So again, you want to only slightly open the lid, and you want to be working near your Bunsen burner. You need to make sure you're spreading it all over plate. And it's hard for students to do this because it is all colourless, so you can't actually see for definite, and you'd want to try and not add in microbes. So I tend to just go around it almost like a clock face, just to make sure we're definitely getting all the way to the edge of the agar plate. And then immediately the spreader is going into the Virkon. That's the last step, just putting the antibiotic disc on. Final step then is we need to put the antibiotic discs onto our plate. And this is where we're going to use our sterile forceps. Now you might not have an entire ring like I have here. They might just have individual pieces that they pick up and place on. But I've got the entire ring. Now these have been sterilized already. As soon as we take the top off though, they're now exposed and they might not be sterile. I would still still actually put them through there just to be sure that they are definitely sterile. But because I've now put them in the Bunsen burner, I do just need to leave it a little bit to cool down, so it's not going to kill any microbes if it does touch that. Now this has actually got a little bit here on the mast ring, that's what we call this ring of antibiotics, that I can hold onto with the forceps. And this is where we get a common mistake students make, that once they put it down, you need to put it down correctly the first time, because the antibiotics will imprint straight away and it affects your inhibition zone. And you don't want it too close to the edge so that you can't get a circle. That is the inhibition zone. So I need to lift this up and make sure I place it right in the middle, which is the tricky bit. And then those forceps go into our disinfectant. Final step then is we will tape our lid down so it can't come off, but you need to make sure you are only putting a piece of tape on either side. Just like this. And that's enough to keep the lid on. But if we put tape all the way around, then oxygen can't get in. And that is then when you might grow anaerobic bacteria. And then when you're ready, you would place your dish upside down, because at the moment, the bacteria that are there, they're going to respire, and water, in the form of water vapor, is one of the products of aerobic respiration. And that water vapor is then going to rise to the lid, condense, and it can drip back down onto the dish. And if you then have pools of water, that can affect the inhibition zones. So instead, we flip our dish upside down so any condensation lands on the lid. Now, sometimes I do get the students to wait just about a minute or so before they do that, because it is still quite wet in there and everything might just fall upside down. But let's give it a go. Okay, so we've left it long enough. It is now all staying on the top. The dish has stayed there as well. And that is our plate ready made to now go to be incubated at 25 degrees C for about 48 hours minimum and about 1 week maximum. Otherwise you'll have too much growth and it could be potentially harmful. So final step, I'm going to turn off the Bunsen burner, and then we need to clean the surface with disinfectant and wash our hands with soap again. So there we go, just clean down the area that I worked. And I've then been washing my hands with soap also. It then does come to the results. The students will have their plates back, and I actually often find it's useful if they do use a pen to draw around the inhibition zone on the actual Petri dish, so it's easier to take a photo and visibly see, and then accurately measure the diameter of the inhibition zone with a ruler in millimeters. Once they've got the diameter of all of their inhibition zones, they can then put their results in a table, but I recommend that you do pull the class data, so then they have their repeats, they can calculate a mean, 2 times the standard deviations on those bars, and then they can actually compare to see are there any overlaps in the standard deviations to see do they have any significant differences between the means and therefore how effective each antibiotic is at killing that particular strain of bacteria. You could also get them to calculate the student t-test, which would be another way to see do you have a significant difference between the means and therefore is it a significant difference. Now so far I've actually just mentioned doing it with the diameter. It would be better if you had it as the entire area. So once they've measured the diameter, they can then do pi r squared to calculate the area of each inhibition zone and pull their data for the mean area. So that's the data they're going to be collecting. I would always encourage them to take photos so that you've got that to look back on and to put in with your results. And also it's useful to be able to see, did they work completely aseptically? And we can tell that by, do they have any contaminations on their plates at the end, which would look like different colored dots, often like a bright orange color or a darker yellow color, indicating different bacteria has grown other than the E. coli. Or if you have anything really furry, then that is your fungus that is growing. So that is it for Required Practical 6. If you have found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe, because I go through all of the required practicals, and you can download for free the complete guide with all of my tips and tricks to help you deliver this as smoothly as possible.